Okay, today is a bit different yet again because today we have to dive into an active, immediate, here and now controversy that is developing as I type these words. It's not often we get to intervene during an active cancellation. I've often discussed them in a past tense, like the Say No to Rage debacle, but an active one, that's a bit harder to catch. It's kind of like bottling lightning for a creator like me who uses scripts and more editing. Things like this, in the age of online discourse, often move extremely quickly. However, today I want to dive in on the topic of real misinformation, not the buzzword that is often hurled across the void of digital space when you simply disagree with someone, because Twitter's new CEO is being accused of racism by a growing online mob. Will this have any material impact on his corporate status? Probably not. However, I believe that accuracy is paramount, and we would all do well in the modern age to consider a bit more care when using these words. Yes, the online left has bastardized the words Nazi, fascist, and racist, among many others, to near oblivion, but that doesn't mean the rest of us need to do the same. Okay, first things first, mere hours ago, Twitter's long-standing CEO and founder, Jack Dorsey, stepped down from the platform. I'll reserve commentary on this from a personal standpoint because I hate Twitter with a vicious passion, but that's not even really important. What's important is that Jack Dorsey spoke highly of his successor, Parag Agrawal, I think is how you pronounce it, as he immediately took up the mantle of active CEO. Twitter is not a small company, and the role of chief executive officer, presiding over a $37 billion corporation with many, many millions of users, well, you're going to get looked at closely, especially through the lens of Twitter itself. Think of this like a presidential race or a congressional campaign. People get vetted, people get checked out, and once the internet knows, people dig through your life with brutal dedication to find anything they possibly can that will hurt you. That is what has happened to Parag, and that is the misinformation I would like to attack here in this video. Simply put, Parag Agrawal is being accused of racism, based on a tweet he made in 2010. This right here is that tweet, and it's actually going viral right now as we speak. In the time it took me to write this one paragraph, it got like 100 more retweets or quote tweets, and that number is only increasing more rapidly as time goes on. People are attacking him for this viciously. Search up Twitter CEO racism and the site will throw back countless blue check marks accusing him of being an absolutely terrible person, lambasting him for this tweet, which is 11 years old, and insinuating that this is some deeper indication of his actual belief system that somehow snuck past a deep clean to ensure his viability as an executive. All of these statements are patently absurd, and this cancellation campaign is an embarrassment for everyone involved. That's a pretty big statement to make when tens of thousands of people per minute, probably more, are reacting to this new narrative across all of its different dispersals and beginning to condemn him as a racist. But give me a chance here to build my case. This tweet, worthy of an actual trending spot on the Twitter exploration tab, reads as follows, quote, "If they are not going to make a distinction between Muslims and extremists, then why should I distinguish between white people and racists?" End quote. Those words in particular are being used right now to impeach his character. And in a world where the loudest voices among us are often rewarded, regardless of truth or accuracy, I might add, someone needs to push back on it. The words I read were clearly articulated as a quote by me in this video, but they are also encompassed by quotations in his original tweet. That right there should give everyone pause because quotation marks often denote a statement made by someone else. By itself, that means almost nothing, but there's more. Twitter is actually an evolving platform. Those of us who signed up within the past 3 to 4 years probably won't even know this, but Twitter didn't always allow 280 characters. In fact, Twitter never increased that limit until October of 2018, 8 years after this tweet was made. Bear with me. If we plug this quote into a character counter, we find that it has 138 characters. That's too shy of the cutoff, and that also counts punctuation, by the way. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. Here's something else. Much akin to the character limit, Twitter was not originally designed from a feature perspective, at least, to allow long-form communication. Something that seems normal to us right now is the thread function, where tweets can be aligned beneath each other in a cohesive chain. But this function did not exist until December of 2017. That's over 7 years after this tweet was made, filling in another piece of the puzzle. Okay, 138 characters tweeted in 2010, which is more than half a decade before basic organization features were implemented on the website, and it looks like a quote of some kind. Let's dig deeper. It turns out, buried in the now torrential downpour of anger and condemnation he is receiving on that tweet, that Parag himself also claims it was a quote in a reply to the user Joylita. This is where things get a little bit tricky. This reply is indexed into the Twitter search results, which can easily be found by searching Joylita and Paraga, but the tweet itself has actually been deleted. Here's what it said, quote, "At Joylita, I was quoting Asif Mandvi from The Daily Show. The article you are reading seems too deep for my current mental state. End quote. The article she linked, if you trace it back, was about the nuance between Islamist and Islamic, which have different connotations and are being used by separate political groups, or were at the time, for equally flawed reasons. Joylita and Parag have numerous interactions on Twitter over the span of many, many months. This was not someone replying to a random user who was in their replies. It was someone replying to another profile that they regularly engage with. Okay, this is a complete tangent, and I actually only get one shot at this, and I can't script it, because as I was doing all my research for this, the tweet was deleted, right? Like, it was unavailable, except if I refresh this page, I'm pretty sure it's going to pop up, because I think Twitter is actively, like, looking at this situation and trying to reshape the narrative. So, ready? If I refresh the page, I'm pretty sure it's going to come back, and now it's visible. Yeah, this wasn't visible even just, like, as I was making the script, less than an hour ago. So now this tweet is back when it wasn't there before, and now it's starting to get quote tweeted and, like, spread around, because Twitter is, like, actively going back in and looking at this. That's interesting to me. Also, fuck Twitter. I got permabanned for quoting Game of Thrones on the platform, and nobody brought my tweet back to check context and reshape the narrative. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this video defending anyone from that stupid company. Anyways, that's less important. What's most important is that Parag himself also claimed at the time of the tweet that it was a quote from Asif Mandvi on The Daily Show, thus radically changing how we, in 2021, should view it. However, I recognize that for some people watching this right now, it might mean nothing. How do we know that? What does it matter? What does it change? Etc., etc. Let's explore. Asif Mandvi is an actor and comedian who was frequently present on The Daily Show after 2007. For anyone who has any interest, his life story is actually extremely interesting, but if you read into who he is and what he does, you'll find that he often made, I don't want to say inflammatory statements, because that's not really the case, but he often made various jokes and comments, shall we say, in his capacity as a Daily Show correspondent that would be wholeheartedly rejected by the Twitter mob today. They really wouldn't hold up through the times, let's put it that way. Were they funny jokes? I can't tell you what to laugh at, but this was a comedian saying things that he thought would be funny on a late-night satirical talk show in 2010. Yes, for those who might still be barking up the tree of legitimacy right now, as per an NPR transcript reference, I couldn't find the actual episode online, at least not for free, but in this transcript reference it is made very clear, plus there is an audio clip as well on the page. As per that transcript, he absolutely did say this particular line on The Daily Show, but it was actually slightly modified to read, quote, "Then why should I take the time to distinguish between decent, fearful white people and racists?" End quote. Why does that matter? Because it clearly establishes that he shortened the very real quote to make it abide by the 140 character limit, while including quotation marks, which would indicate with certainty that this is not his personal thoughts. This is a quote of a joke from a comedian in 2010 that conforms to the character limit while still using quotations, and takes place before the invention of Twitter threads. Based on the totality of evidence, no reasonable person can look at this as a valid cancellation. No sane person can see the full picture here and prescribe motive to this man as a racist. The shoe doesn't fit. The narrative makes no sense. And anyone who sees this, if you genuinely participated and put out accusations of racism based on this tweet, I would ask that you rethink your approach to social media right now. Those who rail the hardest against cancel culture are sometimes equally ready to perpetuate it. They just didn't have the right opportunity yet. We should not be so eager to label someone with a term like racist. And when misinformation absolutely does proliferate on social media like an 11th biblical plague almost, it's very important to examine circumstances thoroughly before lending our voices to a trend. I don't think that this new CEO, at least personally, is just a great guy. I'm not pretending he will be amazing for the company or anything like that. In fact, some of his other historical comments are fairly troubling, in my opinion, but purely on the basis of racism, it was eye-opening to watch in real time, I might add, as the social media mob took aim, appointed themselves as the arbiter of truth, and assigned this man the label of racist, which is actually a pretty powerful term, with literally no evidence. What precious little they have in the way of a smoking gun of sorts falls apart completely with just a few minutes of research. And yet, the tweet is still going viral right now. The comments are still piling in at this very moment. And whether or not this particular person can survive, at least on a corporate or professional level, like some people lose their jobs, he's not going to lose his job over this. But whether or not he does or would, it means nothing, because these events, completely, in and of themselves, should not be happening. I doubt this video will actually change anything at all, but I wanted to jump in and offer my own perspective in the hopes that it might. Like, there's a chance. Maybe I will make a series on the channel, like in the future, debunking false information or trying my own hand at fact checking, because apparently now everyone can do it, and who knows, maybe I can get a piece of that pie too and claim the right to tell people what's real and what's not, when half the time I have no idea myself. That would put me right on par with the rest of the fact checkers I see on social media, so why not? But yeah, that's it. This man is not a racist based on that one tweet. I have no idea who he is as a person outside of all of this, and I really don't know how it all got started. I guess maybe one person dug it up and said, "Oh my god, look at this," and then never looked further, and then everyone just ran with it. I don't know. It's a shit show. But yeah, I don't know who he is outside of all this. Take that for what you will, but that one single tweet, anyone labeling him as a racist purely as a function of that one quote from 2010 is an idiot. Stop it. If you want to support the videos, there are links down below. I'm attempting to turn Patreon and locals into the primary method of funding for the channel rather than YouTube ads, so if you have any interest at all, please check that out. Also, Odyssey, which is a YouTube platform alternative where you can watch all of the videos. It's just another place to look at them. There's another YouTuber to check out, merchandise, social media pages, etc., but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.